Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
Should GLP-1 weight loss medication like Wegovy and Zepbound cost thousands of dollars? We don't think so. TryLifeMD.com helps provide insurance access to the leading GLP-1 medications. Visit TryLifeMD.com and check your eligibility for GLP-1 medication with copays as low as $0. Listen to Bridget's story after losing 55 pounds and using her insurance for coverage.
LifeMD helped me get covered with my insurance. Finding out that it was covered was huge. I've lost 55 pounds. I am so much healthier now that I've lost the weight. I would never be able to do it without them.
Get started today and check your eligibility for GLP-1 medication with copays as low as $0 at TryLifeMD.com. That's TRYLIFEMD.com.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian are talking about the movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. It's episode 316. I am Zachy Hassan. I'm here with Brian Hall.
Hey, how's it going, Zachy?
It's going great, Brian. I'm sitting here. You know, it's kind of the tail end of my semester.
Ooh, okay.
So
yeah, summer break.
Summer
is
break
coming up.
is coming, and that makes me excited because that means summer movie season is coming.
Oh yeah, lots of. It's funny we talk about how we understand that movies are very expensive these days.
Yes.
And so we're always like, oh man, we wish more people would go to the theater, but it's, I have that Regal Unlimited. So to me, it almost feels like they're free. But now that the summer movie season is coming up, I'm like trying to get my brother to sign up for this because I want him and his wife to join me on all these movies. But I realize asking them, to take all these swings like every other week on these movies for like $18 a pop is a big ask. So I mentioned it a lot on here. I think A-List for AMC, Regal Unlimited for Regal. I definitely think it's worth it for people who go to the movies often. And I've been trying to push it on my own family. So, yeah.
It's really like when you do the math, it's just a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, especially for us, I realize, we probably see things a bit more often than the average person. But I mean, I go almost once a week, if there's something worth watching. Yeah. And so it does pay for itself. You get all these points. I haven't paid for popcorn in years just because of all the points that I have. So this is not even an ad. I didn't even mean to lead with this, but like it's totally worth it. And all that to say, yeah, I'm thankful to have it for all the summer movies I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking about how, in years past, in recent years, we've talked about how we're sort of fallen out of the summer movie thing a little bit, like one blockbuster starts merging into the next,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'm feeling a little zazzed for this summer. There's like multiple titles I'm excited for.
No, same. I mean, I keep forgetting even about that F1 movie.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm seeing that trailer a lot now before every movie. And I'm like, it does. I know it's by the same director as Maverick, Top Gun Maverick, but it's also giving off the same vibe. Just that like perfect movie for everybody that's just going to probably make you stand up and cheer by the end of it. I'm forgetting about that one, but every time I see the trailer, I'm getting excited about it.
What is nuts about that? You and I watched The Last Castle a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, Brad Pitt has always been likened to the younger Robert Redford.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt is now about the same age as Redford was in The Last Castle.
See, isn't that strange, though? And that's later than Sneakers. And in Sneakers, as a boy, I thought Robert Redford was like an old guy, right? And it's strange, these people that I've known most of my life, and now they are that age. And I know this gets brought up a lot. It seems like people at certain ages, like Tom Cruise being in his 60s, still looks younger than Wilford Brimley when he was in his 50s. Like there's something like people are aging differently. So that's one part of it. But also another part of it is
poor Wilford Brimley, by the way.
He's the bar for
he got tagged as the avatar of old.
I know. Or like, how did he look that old when he was that age? That's like But like, there's also the thing where I've known Brad Pitt since he was young.
Personally, you're good friends with him.
Actually, I had at one point I was an acquaintance.
I was going to say I was setting you up. See.
Well, thank you, and then thanks for making me sound cool on the air for that. But
can you believe that was 20 years ago? By the way, can you believe that?
Literally, yeah, you're right.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you worked crew on
2005, and he was very cool. He's very cool. Yeah. Although I did have this one moment where I was supposed to, like, when you're like a PA, you have to lock up certain areas because you're filming out in the wild, and you have to make sure that people off the street don't wander onto the set. And so I was supposed to lock off this one like driveway area, and this guy on a motorcycle with a helmet like pulls up, and I'm like, whoa, sorry, can't, like John Candy in Vacation, sorry folks, like can't come through. And then he lifts the visor and is Brad Pitt. I was like, oh, your movie.
That's it. He wasn't like, get the F out of my way.
No, he kind of laughed. But anyway, so there's that weird thing now where we've known these people with young faces, so when I look at them now, I think I still see the young face that I've known most of my life.
Sure.
Like I see through the extra wrinkles or the whatever. But then I do wonder for your kids, like especially your youngest kids, if they look at him, they're like, yeah, no, that's an old guy.
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But I can't think of Brad Pitt as an old guy.
I should ask. Yeah. You sent me an article recently talking about how Gen Z, like most of the stars for Gen Z are like people from our era.
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? I don't have it here in front of me, but it was, you would think, oh, is it these younger, maybe even like social media people that are the biggest draws for them? But it's like, no, it's all these, like, it's like Tom Cruise and all these older actors that they voted as their top actors, like Jack Black. And
it's not Jacob Elordi.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not Logan Paul or
Lord help us.
Rob Kardashian. He's not a draw.
Oh, by the way, this is being I guess a little whatever given the date, April 29th. But did you know that Khloe Kardashian has a new popcorn coming out today?
She does.
Yeah, and I know that because a skywriting airplane's been going over my place all day, riding it in the sky.
All right. Well, see, this is Brian Hall lives the movie star life. The rest of us don't get Khloe Kardashian's plane writing right above us.
What's funny? I realized I just fell into their trap. Like they, not only did they make me, because I think it said something about cloud is here or something spelled with a K. So I was like, well, fine. So I Googled, what is cloud? So I look it up. I see it's the popcorn. And now I am using our platform. And I've just made an advertisement out of it. Well, you know what? It was worth every penny.
This popcorn has bitten you in the ass twice.
It did.
You've run out of ass cheeks.
Oh, man. Is this what recording later in the day energy is?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So what else? What else is going on?
You know, it's funny. I was going to mention a bunch of things, but they kind of factor into stuff we're going to talk about later. I'll just a little tease. I've been playing a lot of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yes.
We'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later. Sinners. I saw Sinners again because I was hanging out with some friends and they wanted to go see it. So I was like, all right, I'll go see it again. And I think it's worth talking about the box office. I think we'll get to that. But I have to say, on second viewing, I liked it just as much.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Man, that's just a good movie.
Yeah.
But you're also seeing that sort of backlash now where I think...
I know. I was waiting for that.
Yeah. I think because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And the friend that I saw it with, I asked her if she wanted to go, and she said no the first week. And then when it became a thing, she was like, okay, I want to go see it. And so I think everyone's now going to see it. Well, some people are going to see it like,
out of duty.
All right, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think it's like, that's it. It's for some people.
Yeah.
But I was with two friends, and the other friend, the whole movie, she kept going, what is this? Who wrote this? Like, what is going on? And then as soon as the credits rolled, she's like, that's my favorite movie this year.
Wow. Okay.
So she felt every emotion.
Yeah. Jeez, okay. Well, we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, we'll get back into that. I did Revenge of the Sith. I think we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian. This is great.
I know. Well, everything I was going to talk about. Oh, I wanted to see The Accountant 2.
Yeah, I wanted to see it also. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't have time. But I did rewatch the first one.
Okay.
and just to kind of refresh myself. And it's funny. It's just like a perfectly cromulent adult thriller, right? Like,
It's funny. I mean, I saw it the one time when it came out, and I was like, I remember not like, I thought it was just fine. Like, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. This one, I'm hearing it's more fun than the first one, so that has me kind of excited about seeing it.
yeah, a friend of mine saw it and said he didn't want to go.
Okay.
And he told me, he's like, oh, actually, it's pretty good.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'm in the mood for that. Like, and that's what I love about it. Like, we'll get to the box office, but like this movie, The Accountant, feels like a movie plucked from the 90s. Like the
Yeah,
type
absolutely.
of movie you don't get theatrically these days. And I love that it did so well this past weekend. And even watching the first one, even though it wasn't, it's fine. Like I would say the first 2/3 are like pretty enjoyable. And then like the wind goes out of its sails in the third act a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just like that something like that succeeded this weekend against all the other movies that also succeeded. I just think that's kind of cool. So
Absolutely.
maybe we'll get to that in another week. Something I can mention, I did watch Light and Magic.
Ah, yes.
Season 2. It's a series on Disney Plus, and it's about Industrial Light and Magic, the special effects company that was basically started because nothing like it existed when Star Wars was being made. So it needed to be invented. And the people, the ragtag rascals who came together and invented, what was modern special effects in the 80s and 90s, they called themselves Industrial Light and Magic. And this is a documentary. Well, season 1 is about how they began. And basically when they were doing special effects with like string and gum and, and putty and model kits. And it ends with Jurassic Park, season 1. Like, like computers, maybe this is going to put a lot of these people out of business. So season 2, which just came out about a week ago, is post Jurassic Park and goes into the digital era.
That's
and
awesome.
It's great. I love this. I think people who listen to the show would really enjoy this. I mean, you're getting interviews with the people who were there, and it's loving all around. It's not condemning one art form or the other. And if anything, it made me realize with Revenge of the Sith specifically, actually, there's a lot more practical effects in there than I realized. And there's a lot of great marriage happening there between the computers and the practical and the models and everything. And it was really cool seeing them try to work in harmony together, and then even when it does get into more of the digital stuff, I mean, it's really easy now. They even comment on this, but a lot of times people will go, oh, it's just computer generated. It's easy, like it's not special anymore, special effects. And they get into how difficult it is to simulate water. Because they're like, well, water does this, but then it breaks up like this, and then it creates this foam. And like, this is all math, but we need to use math to create something that your eyes are going to believe and hopefully maybe not even like notice to sell a story. And so getting into that. I found it endlessly fascinating. It's I want to say season 1 is 6 episodes. I think season 2 is only 3.
So season 1 was overseen by Lawrence Kasdan. My understanding is season 2 is Joe Johnston. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
I interviewed Lawrence Kasdan about the first season.
I remember that. Yeah.
Talk about a pinch me moment, for me. This is on my list. I absolutely. It's just a question of finding the time, but I absolutely want to see it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It went too fast. I could have watched it in one night, but I split it up because I wanted to savor it a little bit. And then I guess lastly, I'll say, without going into spoilers, but I've been keeping up with Last of Us, and it's been pretty. We've gotten to the point that I think has been controversial. A lot of people
emotional roller coaster for you.
Emotional roller coaster, and I think. Maybe even with the game, because I haven't played it, I don't know. But with the show, it's sort of like, all right, well, the game has changed. How do we proceed, and will we still enjoy or be invested in moving forward? And I have to say, so far, I am. Okay. So, are you watching?
I haven't as of yet. I'm kind of I'm gonna wait till the season ends and see what the overall vibe is. I'm kind of like, I went through this with Walking Dead, where you deal with the emotional toll of seeing horrible things happen to people you grow to care about, and without getting into spoilers about the Last of Us, it's in a similar vein.
Yeah,
and so there's a little bit of me like, I don't know, do I want to Do I want to take that on? You know?
And related to that, it's when I say that, like the game has changed, it's like, well, I don't necessarily love just any zombie movie. There's got to be a way in for me. And for me, it's like the character dynamics and, it's really more about the people.
Right.
And so when you shake things up, does it still feel like the thing that I love? Or is it just a zombie thing? So that's what I was kind of curious about moving forward.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm 3 episodes in now, and I enjoyed it. So I'll keep going.
Well, that's something.
Yeah. But how about yourself?
It's been kind of light. I've been I'm rewatching Andor season 2 now with Amina.
Oh yeah.
And that's been. I mean, I said this in the last episode. I mean, I'm just in love with this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really enjoying going through it again.
Yeah, I haven't started it yet. I gotta do that.
Yeah, if you don't want to rewatch the first season, and I know it's been a minute, if you go to the Star Wars YouTube channel, they have this little recap. It's about 14 minutes.
I saw that. It might be the same thing on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I intended to watch that, yeah.
Just do that, and that'll get you fully caught up in a way that you're not like, oh God, I got to watch 12 episodes before I go into this,
Right.
Yeah, it's honestly like between Andor and Revenge of the Sith in the theater, I'm zazzed about Star Wars again, which is a nice feeling.
I gotta say, me too. It's been nice. Yeah, a nice feeling. It's been really cool.
I will say this though. Over the last couple of days, I've been discussing the sequel trilogy on social media, and that the sequel trilogy is a topic that always draws reasoned and thoughtful commentary, which is nice. You have like the what flavor of shit do you like or whatever. I'm like, it's like so, but we're at the point now where there is that slice of sequel fans who refuse to acknowledge in any way that they have flaws.
Oh, really?
So now we've got that. It's a new strain. You know how like Last of Us,
a new
like
strain.
Yeah. We got, and I'm like, Brian, I don't know, man. Is it just like you and me where we're like, hey, we like these. They're flawed, some more than others, but overall, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there room for that in the discourse?
I know. We're like, just watching everybody fight and squabble, like Dark Knight Rises, like a big fight in the street, and we're just standing on the side, like, oh, like holding each other. I don't know.
Like it's one of those things where I made some comment. I found this funny where I was like, I wish they had found a way to get Han, Luke, and Leia on screen together, before the characters started getting killed off and before Carrie Fisher died. I was like, it's just something that's always, it's going to bug me,
Mm-hmm.
Bear in mind, I'm coming at it as a fan. And somebody's like, well, how would you have fit that in based on the story we got? And I'm like, well, you write the story to include that,
Right.
And this person's like, oh, so for those of us who liked The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, just F you. That's what you're saying.
Wow. Okay.
I'm like, well, you escalated things pretty quickly there. I don't think I'm saying that.
Right.
You took things to a very, very angry place,
Yeah.
So I'm just like, well, social media is where nuance goes to die.
Yes.
And it doesn't die peacefully in its sleep. It's, it's choked to death underwater, gasping for air. And so I'm like, this is proof positive of that. So I'm like, it doesn't matter how much time goes by. I don't think that particular thing will ever go away. But I remain adamant. I've said this all along. I think in the fullness of time, we'll see some degree of reclamation of the sequels, just like we've seen with the prequels. Because one thing I'm fascinated by is prequel kids now, who are grown-ups now. They're like, oh, the prequels never got this kind of a hate. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
Listen to me. I lived it.
I was there, man.
It was a thing. It absolutely was a thing. I'm glad you're at a place now where it's not the case, but that's just not so.
Actually, that reminds me of Light and Magic, because the prequels are covered, and I did wonder if there would be a glossing over of that, because in their story, do they want to talk about how, and all the work we did was, not loved at the time.
Right.
But they do actually go into that, and it's kind of fascinating. And they even show George Lucas reading printed out reviews on a plane ride.
Wow.
And just having to see like that people don't like the movies.
Oh man.
So that is a part of its story. And it's people have come around, obviously. I mean, look at this weekend.
Well, I do love that the last 8 weeks or so, it's like turmoil has engulfed the taxation of trade routes and everything else, and you just picture George Lucas kind of sitting to one side going, it's funny how that happened. So anyway.
Yeah, right. I know.
Oh,
Well,
really?
yeah.
Oh, suddenly we care about tariffs now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say, I was on the leading edge of at least acknowledging the things that the prequels did well, which was the politics, because I wrote a book chapter back in 2015 talking about how the way Lucas laid out the fall of the Republic and everything, it was quite masterfully done, even if we say the overall execution of the trilogy was maybe not all it could be.
Yeah, I think that's been my journey with it also, where I think my dissatisfaction with the execution dominated all my thoughts about it. But I have then, when they're on TV, you're like, oh, well, this part's fun. Oh, this part's fun. And then you become endeared to it in a certain sort of way. And then now, I mean, like we say, the sequels are sort of flawed, but we still can enjoy them on a certain level. But I will say those movies, because they can get a little bit derivative of the original trilogy, it did make me reappreciate the prequels and just they're three completely different stories.
Yeah.
And I still wish the execution was a little different, but there's a lot that I can enjoy about them now in a different sort of way.
One thing I find myself saying a lot when it comes to Star Wars, it is what it is. And you're either fine with it or you're not. What the hell? We're here anyway. Let's talk about Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So they re-released it to theaters this past. I think it's for 1 week. It's in theaters right now, and it opened to $25 million.
Yeah.
Which took my mind back to when we were kids, and they re-released Star Wars in theaters.
Yes.
Back in '97, because that opened 35 million. But I think this was somehow more impressive because I didn't see a single trailer for this. That was a big deal because there was there was fast food toys, and there was it was like a big marketing machine.
Yeah.
This, as far as I know, maybe I just missed it. I didn't see a single trailer. I didn't see any kind of an ad campaign for it.
The only thing I saw was on social media, and I am my algorithm is, of course, movie centric. But yeah, I went Friday night, and my theater has been pretty barren since COVID. I mean, the one time I can think where I was like, whoa, holy cow, was Super Mario Brothers. Just families, crowds. You'd see the door open as the movie was ending, and just streams of people coming out. And I don't feel like I've seen something like that since, until last Friday when I saw Revenge of the Sith. It was totally packed. The lines of concessions were long, and everybody was wearing Star Wars shirts. Multiple people were wearing bathrobes, to look like Jedis. And my brother, he was in a different part of town. He was by the El Capitan down in Hollywood. And he said down there, he saw people walking around in bathrobes. So I don't know, maybe it was a thing, but it warmed my heart, honestly. And what was it like for you?
Yeah, I went this past Sunday in the afternoon, and I would say it was about 2/3 full, which is pretty good for that theater. Mostly parents and kids, which was fun. This is I took my daughter. This is her first Star Wars movie. The whole
period.
Way
Wow.
Pretty sure, and right after, my two younger ones have not really that's what I realized. The older ones, I've already gone through this with them, and then the younger ones just kind of you forget, But after it ended, we came home, and she was like, "Oh, can we watch the next one?" So we watched Star Wars for the first time.
Wow. Okay, so coming off of a more modern one, maybe a little faster pace, How did she take A New Hope?
I think she's at the age where she just sort of takes it all at face value. Like she's not too critical about it.
Well, the fact that she has watched that French version of Count of Monte Cristo that's 3 hours long more than once or twice, like,
yeah, that's true.
That's pretty amazing.
It's funny, and you know this, right? She, like, when I'm off in my little, library and I'm doing work, sometimes she'll come in and she'll be like, put on old commercials. And
yes.
And I play, like, I have like a playlist on YouTube of just like vintage commercials from the 80s and 90s, jingles and things like that. And you've seen it. She'll like sing along,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I'm like, to me, I feel like it's like those Native American chiefs, It's like, the old ways are dying. The young ones must remember our stories.
That's exactly. Yeah. But it's not about you or your family line.
No. It's about
588-2300.
Old ways are dying,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
So I'm actually looking forward to going through and watching them with her. And it's the thing is that Andor is at a very different level of sophistication, and I'm like, kids don't need to watch that, but I'm watching that with Amina,
Totally, yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. So that's been the most fun thing for me, honestly, with Revenge of the Sith being back in theaters. First of all, I'm like, how is it 20 years ago that I remember watching it opening night? But like all these, I'm seeing posts in my social media. People were like, "Oh, I never saw this in the theater. This is my favorite one. Now I get to see it in the theater." And I'm like, this is great. That's what this is, right? It should be something joyful. We should rejoice at Anakin Skywalker murdering these children. It should be a joyful moment.
I have so many things to say. So one of my fellow co-writers, staff writers at Young Jedi Adventures, Christian, she is younger than me, and she posted on social media, she went to go see Revenge of the Sith. She's like, I saw this when I was 7.
Wow.
This was my first Star Wars movie, and it changed my life.
Wow.
And then I went and I worked at Lucasfilm, and now I've written Star Wars stories. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like that made me really happy, because that's not an experience I had.
Yeah.
With these prequels, and it is funny, our journey. I mean, if we had a podcast in the early 2000s, it'd probably be a lot of vitriol,
Right.
But yeah, I gotta say, I just had the best warm, fuzzy feelings watching it, watching all ages in there, people who were clearly like younger millennials, who I'm sure that was their story, and they were like repeating the lines and, cheering at certain parts. And I have to say, the two parts that our theater erupted was when Obi-Wan drops down in front of Grievous and goes, "Hello there." Theater just erupted. And then the second part was when Anakin opens his lightsaber in front of the younglings.
No.
Everybody just woo! Started cheering.
Wow, that's concerning, slightly.
Yeah, my friend Chad and I, we just sort of looked at each other like, huh.
I saw somebody posted a thing which I found quite a cogent observation, is that little boy looks like Anakin in episode 1.
Yeah.
It's like he's killing himself as a child, like everything he thought, nothing can kill a Jedi, remember? And
that's fascinating. Yeah.
And was that intended? Who knows? But
yeah.
I certainly like that we can read stuff like that into it.
No, I love that. I mean, again, there's so much to say. I'll just say really briefly, yes, I did have like an existential moment, where it was like 20 years since this came out. Like, I was an adult when this came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing when those were happening. I mean, it's hard. I'm watching all these old videos on Instagram of people freaking out in line before they're about to watch Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend and I have been swapping those videos back and forth, and we're like, that energy, like, that'll never happen again. Like, that was just such a pent up, like, we had no idea we were getting new Star Wars. And this one in particular, we had heard, you and I, since we were little kids, that, Darth Vader, he became Darth Vader on a fight with Obi-Wan on a volcano. And it was like, I had this image in my mind and I never thought I would see it on a big screen. And so it was amazing to me, flashing back 20 years ago, watching that for the first time in a theater, thinking, so much anticipation, so much mystery. What's this going to be like? But now that I'm watching it, I know every single line. I know every single music cue. I know every sound effect. Like, it's funny that it went from this mysterious thing I was anticipating to now like a movie that I know like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye, where's the time go?
Well, and that's, so you imagine that's what it felt like for folks watching the Star Wars Special Edition in '97, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Afterwards, because I went with Mikhail also, and he's 16 now. So the last time he saw it, I think, was in the lead up to Rise of Skywalker. So that's like 6 years ago already, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after he come home, I put on the trailer, like the vintage trailer, from 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, the whole thing, it's like, it telegraphs everything about how Anakin falls and, the Jedi or Order 66 and all that. And Mikhail's like, they're like spoiling everything, in the trailer. And I'm like, no, bro, like that, everybody knew that's what was going to happen in episode 3. Like that was what was going to get people into the theater.
Right.
The whole point of the trilogy was, here's how Anakin becomes Darth Vader. And I was like, that's so funny, because for kids now, you just know, you view it as just a contiguous, episode order thing,
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. I will say too, the other thing I wanted to mention was, I think this is, in my opinion, probably the best prequel film, the most sturdy and solid. It still has its kind of goofy moments, like some of the dialogue. I still always laugh when Anakin's watching Padme brush her hair.
I'm so in love with you.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, but I'm so in love with you. And he's like, no, I love you. And she's like, is it because I'm beautiful? And he's like, no. And he's like, oh, so love has made you blind? And he's like, that's not what I meant. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that's one of the scenes Tom Stopper did the rewrite on.
I know but that third act, and I enjoy most of it, but the third act, I got emotional.
Yeah.
Like watching Obi-Wan look 100%. At his friend, and
honestly, for me, sorry, from Order 66.
Yes.
I started like feeling a pit, Yeah.
Well, and even there's that moment where everyone's being quiet, Padme's alone in her apartment. And, Anakin's thinking about what he has to do. And it's a really unique moment. It doesn't feel like any other moment in Star Wars. And it's very emotional. And so, all the way through, and just the emotional battle, and Obi-Wan just kind of, raspy, emotional voice. Like, I loved you. I was like, that's the best thing about seeing these things back in the theater. You get to just sort of, the world goes away for 2 hours and you get lost in a story, even a story you've seen hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And I got to say that, the end of that movie just completely works for me. It was very cool to experience it that way. And I hope didn't they say in modern history, this is the most a re-release has made?
Yeah, I think since the special edition.
Well, there you go. Right. So it just makes me think like, I wish instead of making all these, remakes and sequels and that feel so tired and strained, like just give us the thing again. Like who knows, you might, do like a proper, it's the 40th anniversary of Back to the Future. Give us a proper big Back to the Future release. I guarantee you'll make millions of dollars. Like,
well, this is the thing. Yeah. So what this past weekend at the box office shows is you don't need superheroes to hold up the entire theatrical experience. As you have said so often, it's nice to have them in the mix. But guess what? If you build a theatrical experience, people will come.
People will come, Ray.
Yeah. We got Sinners and Revenge of the Sith and Accountant 2. And guess what? Not every movie needs to be a home run. You can just get on base, and that's okay because it helps overall. It's just a rising tide that's lifting all boats,
I know. And so now we'll talk about this a little bit, the box office. So Sinners, The Accountant 2, which I am so thrilled. Even though I haven't seen it, I just love that succeeded, because that makes me feel like, I feel a pulse again. Yeah. That something like that can hang this weekend. Yeah. Revenge of the Sith.
Actually, before we even move on for Revenge of the Sith, I just want to, for those of you listening who have not had the opportunity, please dig into our archives, check out our commentary track for Revenge of the Sith. I think it's one of our better ones.
Yeah.
if you want to hear more of us just waxing poetic about that movie.
Absolutely. Well,
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, so like Sinners, R-rated, like period horror thing, Accountant 2, like adult 90s feeling, just drama thriller kind of thing. Revenge of the Sith, a re-release sci-fi fantasy thing, and then Minecraft, like something for the kids that's doing remarkably well. This is like, it's exciting to me. Like this is what I want. This is the weekend I want.
Sinners dropped from weekend 1 to weekend 2. It dropped 6%,
which is like next to unheard of.
That's I've never heard of that ever.
Yeah.
As long as we've been doing this show, certainly.
Yeah, 6% is. I mean, like 20% is good.
20% is unheard of, right? These days, you're talking about like anything under 50 is considered good.
Yeah, but 6%. So like it didn't change basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
So what that says is there's the Brian Halls who are watching it multiple times, and then there's the people, the friends of Brian Halls who are going because of word of mouth.
Yep.
So we have a genuine phenomenon, and I think that's great. I think as we record this, we're right on the cusp of a new Marvel movie coming out. And I think what's kind of nice is that the Marvel movie isn't being tasked with rescuing the box office.
Yeah.
That's just a nice feeling,
Yeah. Well, and what I love so much about the Sinners success is that Sinners is something so completely original that doesn't fit into anybody's like predictive algorithm spreadsheet of what should work.
Right.
Which is how it feels like many movies are getting made these days.
Right.
I love that this movie sort of like kicked that to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I bring up this example a lot. I really wish I could remember where I heard it because I think it's so good. But someone said, instead of trying to make movies by algorithm, I mean, if you tried to do that in the 70s after the success of Jaws, an algorithm would tell you to make more shark movies.
That's right.
But it was Star Wars that took the world by storm next.
It wasn't Orca.
No, it wasn't Orca. It was a space fantasy with laser swords. Like, it has nothing to do with Jaws. Like, so you can't manufacture phenomenons. You just need good people with good gut instincts, putting stuff out there. And like you said, put something interesting and intriguing out there, people will come. And so I think this weekend, it doesn't happen often enough. I will concede that. But this weekend, I think, was an exciting glimpse of how it could be.
A window into a better world.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some listener letters, Brian.
Oh, let's hear it.
Mail call!
I believe you have a letter for me.
18,000 letters, all addressed to Santa Claus.
You got mail. So here's a note we got from Brendan Agnew, who emailed us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. And he says, howdy, Zach and Brian. Love the new bumpers, like the one we just played.
Thanks, Brendan.
On your most recent episode. And I wanted to chime in on the discussion on media ownership and availability in the digital future. Notably, one of the games in question, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, is an example of growing numbers of video games that do not contain most, or in this case, any of the actual game data on the disc. A physical copy of Indy just gives you a digital passcode to download the game digitally, which is also the case in games like the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which only has the first game file on disc, a trend that will evidently continue with Nintendo Switch 2. This feels like a cheap way to cut costs and push consumers towards more digital purchases, which makes reselling or sharing games less convenient. Now that's interesting, because I ordered the game.
Yeah, how did you do it? Did you? I remember we had this talk about digital versus physical. What did
I ended up getting the game, the disc, the
physical? Okay,
disc. But I think the game is on the disc. Now I'm not so sure.
Well, I saw a little bit about this, so forgive me if I'm not getting this right. But I feel like it's instead of having the whole game on there, there's like a portion of it.
Okay.
Or something like 20 gigs, only like 20 gigs of like 100+ gig game are on the disc. And I actually totally don't know exactly what that means. That's interesting though, if there are versions where you just buy the digital code, like Brendan is saying, and then how would you resell that? I don't know, because this was actually the first digital game that I've really bought. So I just downloaded it straight to the console.
Okay. Have you been enjoying it?
Zachy, I love this game. I have been getting up earlier each day so I can play it before I begin my day, which I've never done.
Wow.
I just love it. I'm amazed how much they captured the spirit of Indiana Jones.
Right? Yeah.
Right. I wondered if it would just sort of feel like Uncharted, ironically, with a fedora. Right. But it's not at all. Uncharted, there's a lot more like plowing through areas and blasting everybody with your revolver and stuff, which is fun in its own way. And, crossing rope bridges and stuff. But this one, if you shoot somebody, everybody is alerted, and it's like a big deal. Like, so it's more important to be stealthy and sneak around, and you're climbing through, holes in the ceiling and sneaking through the woods and solving puzzles. And I don't know, man. I feel like they nailed it. Like, this doesn't feel like an adventure game that has Indiana Jones in it. This feels like an Indiana Jones adventure. So what about you?
Yeah, well, I'm very early in the game. Like I'm I can't play around my kids because they make everything a pain in my ass. So
go left.
Yeah, top wise, spin it this way or whatever. I'm like, okay, shut up.
Top wise.
So I'm very early in the game, but first of all, Troy Baker is the voice of Indiana Jones. I'm like, they should have got him to voice the period Indy in Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much he sounds like Harrison Ford.
It's uncanny. I mean, especially when he yells. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the lower voice too. And then when he does his grunts when he's jumping or climbing something, I'm like, holy crap, that does sound like when Harrison Ford jumps.
Yeah. If this is a way to keep Indy alive, I'm all about it.
This is what you do, I think. Yeah, you just hopefully churn one of these out like every couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great way of keeping, like I said, without ever recasting or doing that. No, Indy lives on in this form.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
I like what I played so far, so I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's going too fast. I think I'm at least 3/4 through.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's going too quickly, which is, I don't know if I've ever gone through a game this quick.
Brendan goes on, great conversation on Sinners as well. Coogler is one of the most mesmerizing filmmakers working at his level because his movies always feel electrifying and alive in a way that makes stories feel dangerous in their ability to genuinely excite and thrill, as well as being a world-class technical talent. I think we'll be discussing the burning down the house scene / shot from this banger for a long time yet. Keep pressing gold, you two. All the best.
Thank you.
I love that. Keep pressing gold.
I like that too.
Yeah. Thank you, Brendan, for that.
And I got to say, a second time watching that movie, that sequence is still electrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, so good. And the music in that movie also, I mean, there's obviously like blues and sort of folksy sounding music. And then there's, like an orchestral, ominous kind of thing going on. And then at the end, it almost turns into like heavy metal.
Yeah.
There's like metal palming guitar kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I read somewhere Coogler saying, for anyone who's like, well, yeah, but I mean, the first half of the movie is this sort of tone, but then the second half is so intense and crazy. Like, how can you do that? And he cited the Metallica song One, where he's like, well, that song, like most of it's like kind of quiet. And then the end, it gets like super crazy and loud, but you're like, well, of course, like it works. It feels right. And then I actually noticed during the credits that they did some of their music. They recorded it at Metallica's headquarters.
Oh, how interesting.
So I wonder if they were even involved. And I just love it. It's just like everything in that movie is unlikely. You know what I mean? It all feels like perfect. It comes together perfectly. I think that's what makes it really special and makes people so, react to it. There's just so much to react to,
Right.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for that. And here's a note we got from Jeff D on Patreon who says, I appreciate Brian's audio efforts. I especially liked the feature presentations bit.
Thanks, Jeff. Oh, I'm really appreciating this positive feedback. Thank you.
So that's the work that went in is being richly rewarded.
I really, that means a lot. Thank you.
And you'll get to hear the feature presentations bit in just a bit. But first, we got some headlines.
Extra, extra.
What a scoop!
So, hey, here's some trailers that we haven't discussed.
Okay, yeah.
So, hey, did you know there's a new Tron movie coming out this year?
Yeah.
you know, I wasn't expecting that reaction. That's
Did you see who's starring in it?
I know I know you have a very specific enmity towards Jared Leto. I feel like the world at large has a very specific enmity towards Jared Leto.
Look, who knows? Who knows? I've read some unsavory things about him, and that's colored me a little bit.
Sure.
My perception of him. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know. Whatever. But like, he's not my favorite. There.
I mean, I'm with you. He's a net neutral for me. Like, he's not. I will not watch the movie because of him, but I also won't watch it because of him.
Sure.
However, it is Tron, and I'm constitutionally required to watch a Tron movie.
Yeah, I think I sort of betrayed my true reaction. Dude, come on, opening weekend, man. Tron. I can't believe this movie got made. I mean, I think Tron 2 like whelmed, right? Like,
whelmed.
Like it's like, I think certain people enjoyed it enough, but I don't know that it was the phenomenon they were hoping it would be. I think the soundtrack became a phenomenon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
By Daft Punk.
Daft Punk. That's right. Yeah.
And it is incredible. I listen to that a lot, but, I just love that this got made. I mean, when Disney's got their Marvels and their Star Wars and everything else they own, that's amazing that they decided to spend any sort of money on Tron 3.
Yeah. So it's so this is called Tron Ares, by the way, and directed by Joachim Ronning, who did he did one of them Pirates movies. I think the last one.
Okay.
I think that's right.
Mm-hmm.
He did the last one. He also did Maleficent 2.
Okay. So he's like a Disney guy.
Disney, exactly. He's in the Disney wheelhouse. I do find it interesting that this one, instead of Daft Punk, they got 9 Inch Nails doing the soundtrack.
Dude, I mean, it sounds great in the trailer if that's anything from the actual movie.
Yeah.
And I love the whole seeing Tron spill into the real world.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like naturally where you would go next. But that, I mean, anyone who's a longtime listener knows that's our bread and butter. Like, we love fantasy in our own backyard.
Yeah. I'm, because there was going to be a third film like 15 years ago, which is when Tron Legacy came out. And then, I think, like we said, like once Marvel and Star Wars became more of a concern, the idea of continuing Tron just kind of fell away. But I guess it's just kind of stuck in the gut. The concern I had was, I was like, well, if you don't have Jeff Bridges, you don't have me. That was my thought, because I feel like he's really integral to this, and he is in this, and you hear his voice in the trailer. So I'm like, okay, well, it has the Jeff Bridges seal of approval. That makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't see anything in the cast list about Bruce Boxleitner, and I'm like, he is Tron,
right?
And I feel kind of bad for Bruce Boxleitner. I don't know.
Well, he may be in it, but maybe he's not. In a teaser Tron trailer, what's going to get all the 12-years to go, holy crap, it's Boxleitner, or whatever.
It's Scarecrow from Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Is that what your average 8th grader gonna say?
Right.
So this one comes out in October, and I wouldn't be surprised, Brian, if I twisted your arm and had you watch the original Tron with me.
Oh my gosh, I love Tron.
I this is a fun fact. I went to preschool. My very first year of school, I went with a Tron backpack.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Did it have a little disc on the back?
No, it had a picture of the first film when you see the like the master control program is like a spinning thing that like they have to get into. You know what I'm talking
that
about?
horrifying thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like that. It was like the exterior view of that.
What, with the face?
Not because I think the face is like on the inside.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It had that. So I've always had a special kinship with Tron. Me and my preschool backpack.
I love that. Oh man, that was like a movie I remember being on Fox 32 a lot, like growing up. And yeah, when I'd go out and play with frisbee with my friends, I was always thinking about Tron.
You know what's funny is there was that Simpsons where Homer, like the 3D one, remember?
Yeah.
He's like, you know the movie Tron, and it was like, no. Yeah. And I remember seeing that and being like, wait, do we not like Tron? Like,
dude, I remember feeling the same thing. Like, I thought Tron was cool. And then I remember also when the kids get stuck on the desert island and the one twin is like, I'm so hungry, I could eat Arby's. And I was like, but I love Arby's. What's happening here? That was like a real, people don't like Arby's.
That's hilarious. There we go. So we're gonna talk through the original Tron while eating some Arby's.
Exactly, dude.
We'll be living like kings. Damn hell ass kings.
Is that the same episode?
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, no, seeing those things, I don't remember what they're called, but those like bad guys that look like the, squares,
Mm-hmm.
Marching through, like city streets, like, come on. I'm like, I'm so there.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
So that comes out in October. Here's another movie, which I literally did not know existed until like 5 hours ago. And it's Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
According to that card, for some reason, I need you.
Why not the other horsemen?
The other horsemen are dead.
Oh my God, what?
No, they're like dead to me. Things got too real for them. They gave up. Stop interrupting. I'm talking about a trick that is bigger and better than anything you have ever seen. For decades, the Vanderbergs have been selling diamonds to warlords, arms dealers, traffickers to help launder their money.
If you want to stop the devil, don't cut off her hands. You lift her wallet.
Open sesame.
When the second one came out, I know there was a hubbub with people being like, that is the natural. It's just the sequel's begging to be called Now You Don't.
Yeah, they just called it Now You See Me 2.
Yeah. So it feels like they heard you.
So this is the year for belated threequels.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Because Now You See Me 2 came out 9 years ago.
Holy cow. Yeah. Wow.
And Tron Legacy was 15 years ago. So where are you at with the Now You See Me franchise? Do you have any sort of personal affinity for the film or films?
Well, as it so happens, yes. I worked on the first movie for a year and a half of my life.
Wow.
So I am quite endeared, especially to the first one. And yeah, I mean, I was telling you, I watched the trailer today for Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And it almost feels like a fever dream, just seeing, I know the first one so well. And when I was working in post-production on that, I mean, I watched that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, probably like 20 times or something. And it's wild just seeing new footage with those characters. Just personally for me, it's just very strange and interesting. But what I love is I remember when that movie was coming out, the first one, it was coming out the same weekend as After Earth, the M. Night Shyamalan, Will Smith, Jaden Smith movie. And we were like, well, we just hope people are able to catch our movie and they enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And then lo and behold, our movie comes out number one and like trounces on Will Smith's movie to, I think, all of our shock, and became like a bona fide hit. Yeah. And when I bring up
that movie was number 2 and it opened in second also.
Wait. Yes. Very good.
I was like, I'll let you get there.
Yeah, it's a thinker, Brian. My jokes are chess. But what am I trying to say? Anyway, yeah. So the movie does well. I was really happy about that. Everybody worked on that. It's really nice. The movie, I think, is a lot of fun. It's like a true popcorn flick, and I mean that in like the best way. Like, you just turn off your brain and go have a good time, and watch these magicians pull heists. And so then when the second one came out, it was strange not to be involved with it. but I don't know. Like I had a harder time connecting with that one for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But yeah, seeing the part 3 here, I'm just like, I love that people have embraced these movies. I hope it's just another.
But Brian, let me ask you: doesn't it feel a little bit like this one is leaning into like a familiarity that maybe sort of overstating people's affinity for right? Doesn't it feel like that a little bit?
It's so funny. Something I was going to say that I forgot. Whenever I talk about movies that I worked on, I'll say this movie, I'll say that movie, and people go, uh-huh. And when I say Now You See Me, that's the one everyone goes, oh. Like, so I'm always like, oh, cool, I'm glad you've seen that and you liked it.
Sure.
And so, but to your point, yeah. So then the second one comes out, and I don't even feel like I see that one on TV. I don't know what happened with that one, but it's a decade later. And it is kind of funny. Yes, I was telling you, you watch the trailer and they're like, the gang's all back, but it's like,
it's this guy. And then there's this guy. Oh, and remember this guy? And who can forget about this guy?
I mean, that's totally how the trailer plays, when it's probably more likely that audiences are going to be like, right. Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, instead of like, hey, J. Daniel Atlas is back on the case. But I think that's a perfectly fine and cozy place for these movies to exist, right? I mean, they're familiar comfort food, for people to recognize and easily dive into and dive out of.
So, this one comes out November. November of this year. So we got, a lot of stuff coming in the fall, which is nice.
See, and to what we're talking about this past weekend, I feel like this, whether or not this becomes like, like a $200 million whatever, like it would just be cool if this one just performed. It doesn't have to make a $500 million. It doesn't have to whatever, but like relative to its budget, let's have like a superhero movie. Let's have this movie. Let's have the musical. Let's have the whatever. Like, I would love to see this be like a real turn. Yeah. Just for movies in general. And I think this could be one where people are like, oh yeah, I remember enjoying that. Like I rented that at like many years ago. Like let's go out. Let's go catch that.
Right.
Hopefully this will be that.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. So here's a story, Brian, that this is like kind of tangentially connected with the things we talk about here, but I think it's relevant. It's about 60 Minutes. I don't know. Have you followed this?
Very surface level. I've seen like headlines and little blurbs, but please, fill me in.
So what we have going on now, worth mentioning as we record this, it is day 100 of the Trump administration.
Today, really?
Yeah. We've been aging in dog years over the last 3 months.
Right.
But it is only day 100. But the context here is that last fall, 60 Minutes interviewed Kamala Harris shortly after she became the nominee, and they aired her interview and they edited it like they usually do, right? So a portion of the interview aired on Face the Nation and a different portion aired on 60 Minutes, and what you essentially saw was more of the context was left in on Face the Nation, and then they trimmed it down for 60 Minutes. Well, Donald Trump at the time alleged that this was electoral interference, and he sued CBS to the tune of $20 billion.
Okay.
Which that's like Dr. Evil level,
Right.
Like numbers don't even make sense. And this is one of those, it's laughable on its face because it's clear cut First Amendment. This is what journalism is. You make trims, and it's not like they were trying to hide anything because you could see the full context of the interview in the earlier edit, right? So what would they be trying to hide? Mm-hmm. But it was, this was during the campaign, and then of course he wins. The lawsuit is still ongoing. Meanwhile, CBS owner Paramount is in the process of being purchased by Skydance or merging with Skydance, and they need approval via the Trump administration, right? Mm-hmm. And so now essentially you have a situation where CBS is being pressured by Paramount to make nice with the Trump administration so far as cleaning up stories and don't make Donald Trump upset, essentially.
Which is exactly what you want out of the news. Right.
I literally they did a story about Ukraine. They did a story about Greenland. Neither story of which Donald Trump has, distinguished himself with regards to, because he's trying to take over Greenland, and he's chastising the president of Ukraine. So I mean, you cover the news, it's not going to make Donald Trump look well. So he's up there on social media tweeting about it, and so now you have a situation where the corporate folks are trying to get their merger done. So Sherry Redstone, who stands to get a payout once the merger is complete, she's telling CBS, hey, maybe clear your stories with us. I mean, this is cockamamie on so many levels, right? And so last week this came to a head because the EP of 60 Minutes, a guy named Bill Owens, resigned. He's like, I can't produce the show the way it needs to be without interference, and this is the only bullet in my chamber, is to just to quit and call attention to what's happening, right? And I'm just like, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Because this has all happened before, right, at CBS with 60 Minutes.
Right.
There's a whole movie about it. It's one of the greatest journalism movies ever made.
Yep.
And spoiler alert, the corporate folks don't come out looking like the heroes.
Right.
I'm referring, of course, to The Insider from 1999, which you haven't seen. You should. It's fantastic.
Incredible. That's a movie I keep getting on my brother about. I'm like, you've got to watch The Insider. Every couple of years I think of it. No. I'm like, you will love it. You have to watch it.
Yeah, it's fantastic, right? Yeah. And the whole crux there is you have one of the producers at 60 Minutes, Lowell Bergman, played in the film by Al Pacino, who he spearheads a story about the addictive effects of nicotine in cigarettes, and CBS at the time was in the process of merging with Westinghouse. So that's how far back that goes. This is before Viacom even.
Right.
And then the corporate folks kind of tried to put their thumb on the scale, and it became a big thing. And I'm like, this is all terrible, but if Michael Mann is not already at work on the sequel to The Insider,
right,
then we have no silver lining at all for this story.
The Insider 2, now you don't.
Yeah. I mean, this gets to something fundamental, which is, what is journalism for if it is not about keeping those with power in check, holding them to account? What are we even doing? What purpose does corporate media serve if it's not doing this one thing?
Right.
And I have so many thoughts on this, but foremost among them is that, unfortunately, the role of the role of 60 Minutes in the CBS machine works is different now than it was 30 years ago, because the machine is much bigger, and therefore the cog is much smaller. So in other words, it's not worth the hassle for Paramount corporate to protect 60 Minutes journalistic integrity. It's not worth the hassle for them because there's just too much money on the line.
Right.
And this is the inevitable result of these just these corporate mega mergers on steroids that we've seen over the last 15 years or so,
Yep.
I mean, we saw ABC News was sued by Trump, and they settled. Why? Because it wasn't worth the hassle for them, even though, what does it do? It reflects poorly on what is a straightforward First Amendment case that would have gotten laughed out of court.
Right.
And I don't know, man. I mean, I think about this a lot. I'm like, now is not the time for these institutions to start folding, because it's only going to get harder to hold power to account later, when it's going to matter even more. And I mean, we're already in 5-alarm fire territory now, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, when the news, which should be a resource of facts about our world and our leaders and things that are relevant and important to us, things we need to know, when that important resource is owned by a corporation with an agenda, how does that resource maintain unbiased integrity in their reporting? It's obviously, this has been happening for a long time, but this is just another example of how fraught that can be, and it's depressing to think about.
I mean, one thing I keep coming back to is, don't obey in advance.
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing? If you believe in a principle, you stand on that principle, because what we have right now is a situation where people with ungodly amounts of money are using that money to inflict cruelty. you know and again, maybe 60 Minutes is not the cultural hub that it used to be, but it still matters. It's still important. The people who work there are doing good work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, this is only tangentially connected, but when we talk about people with money, I saw this picture of J.K. Rowling like smoking like a cigar and being like, I love it when a plan comes together, and it's in celebration of some measure that the Supreme Court decided about the rights of transgender people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, man, like you got more money than God, and you're using it to just like make the lives of these people who are a fraction of the overall population, just make them miserable.
Right.
Dehumanize. I'm like, is that what, like, that's what your money brought you to? Like, you have enough money to just leave people alone.
I know. It's the giddy, gleeful hatefulness.
Yes. Right? It's like supervillain shit, man.
Yeah. I mean, to take the time and energy to be so petty and mean, you're a grown-up. And this is what you choose to do with your time on this planet? To punch down and gloat about it like a child?
Yeah.
It's just grotesque behavior.
That's what sticks out to me, where I'm like, you can just be decent. You can just be a person,
Yeah, yeah.
like all the good you can do with that money. You don't even have to think about transgender people.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, you made it your mission to just dehumanize. That I don't get.
Yeah, or just go have breakfast. Just go eat breakfast. Don't pick up your phone. Don't feel the need to spread any sort of unpleasantness to people who aren't asking for it.
Well, I honestly, I mean, this sort of ties back to what we were talking about at the start of the show. I think this is what social media has done to us, right? Because there's this performative assholery that you will get validation from. Because X number of people are going to hit like on that, and it's going to send that dopamine to your head. And it doesn't matter how much money you got, whether you're J.K. Rowling or friggin' Elon Musk, right? I mean, this shit rots your brain.
Yeah, it's funny. It reminds me. There's like versions of this, and I'm not gonna have an example off the top of my head, but I'll see these videos. You click on it, and it'll be like, this is a terrible example I'm making up, but it'll be like someone playing a Beatles song, and they'll be like, "I love the Rolling Stones," and you're like, what? And usually it's a little bit not that obvious, but they're doing it on purpose just so you will engage with it. Just so you can go, you idiot. You read the comments and you'll see all these people like, this guy doesn't even know who the Beatles are. Like, and it's like, he's doing it on purpose, guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is so, and it's like, I mean, do you get your rocks off to this? Like, does this get you money? Like, is this monetized if you get a certain amount of people to engage
sure
with it?
It is. If we're talking about Twitter, it is.
But it's such a weird phenomenon.
Yeah.
But I think it's related to what you're saying. It doesn't even matter if it's good or bad attention. Any attention is worth some sort of currency to people these days.
Yeah. So, all of this stuff is connected. And when I look at this 60 Minutes thing, I'm just like, if journalism goes away, if unbiased investigative journalism goes away, there is nothing to replace it.
Yeah.
And society will be weaker as a result. And the entire purpose of all of this is to protect people without power from people who have it. And whether we're talking about political power or financial or spiritual or whatever, if it goes away, then they are unbounded. And that should terrify anybody. I don't care. This is not a partisan statement.
No, I know. And I wish people would hear that.
Yeah.
This is for everybody.
So it is. And I think 60 Minutes, like if this ends up with them compromised in some way, you cannot unring that bell. And 60 Minutes has weathered some shit. They've had stuff happen that was not their finest hour. And I don't know how you come back from it, Well, all that out of the way, hey, we got a big new movie in theaters as we speak, Brian.
Yes, we do. Literally. I mean, it just dropped hours ago. We're some of the first people to watch it on the day it comes out.
That's right. You ready to unpack it?
Yeah, well, and I say that because typically we see it and then we have like a day or so to process and then we talk about it. But you and I are both fresh out of this sucker.
Yeah. we are literally walking out of the theater and hopping on mic.
Yeah,
separately in our separate zip codes. We didn't see it together,
exactly.
but
yeah.
All right, let's do this.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
And we're back, and you know who else is back, Brian?
Who's that, Zeki?
Why, it's Yelena Belova, Bucky Barnes, John Walker. Who else we got? Alexei Shostakov,
Valencia
Ava Starr,
Allegra, Dave Fontaine.
Kudos. There you go. It's a lot of various odds and ends gathered together from the remote corners of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I mean, as I was watching it, I was trying to remember where I even saw some of these people before, particularly Captain America.
Yes. Oh, sure. I think
I didn't even remember what he was from.
He was in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Yes. So his whole arc happened there. He was given Steve Rogers' shield, and given the job of being Captain America. Then the movie kind of fills you in. He lost that gig, and then Julia Louis-Dreyfus made him the U.S. agent.
Right. They do a pretty good job, the characters, when they're sort of meeting one another. Like, who are you? Well, I'm the guy who did this. What about you? Well, I'm the person. But I mean, it feels really natural. I was actually like, thank you, movie.
Yeah.
I needed that.
So I'm just going to say, look, I literally just walked in the door from the movie theater. Brian, I have a big smile on my face.
I wondered if it was going to be one of those instances where you're like, Brian, I know exactly what you thought about this movie.
I have suspicions, but I'm actually very curious.
I really like this movie.
Okay, so my suspicion. Okay, there were certain beats where I was like, "This is a Brian beat right here."
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, we'll get to it after spoilers, but the third act is like, oh, come on, this is so like, I love this.
Nary a blue sky beam in sight is the only spoiler I'll say in this part of the show, and that made me happy.
Yeah, and then I guess I'll give a little bit of tease that I was thinking about with the third act, which is a lot of visual effects, but they all matter.
Yeah.
They all meant
right.
something. Like it was related to the story and it was related to the characters, and it was big, it was spectacle, but it was like completely relevant and exciting and emotional. And I was like, yeah, like this is how you do it.
I'm going to say, like, high level, this made me feel like when I watched the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
That is a great comparison. Yes, because it feels, not like on the main path that we've been on with the big characters. This is like a little, diverging kind of thing where you're like, okay, what's this about? And you're like, oh, I really like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What really struck me, I walked in, Amina was like, what'd you think? I was like, oh, you should go see it, because I know she's going to like it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it was really a Yelena story with all the other characters are essentially like her supporting cast, but I like that she was the through line.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that was a smart approach.
Agreed.
I think Florence Pugh is just very talented. She's very watchable. And I think just, what that allowed for to me is, without spoiling anything, the final shot of the movie felt like a solid payoff to me of everything that the movie had set up.
Completely. Yeah. And I realized where I'm just like, oh, I loved it. Like I want to like not get everyone's expectations like sky high or anything, but it's just, Marvel's just felt for me personally just a little repetitive, or just kind of hitting the same beats with different characters and just not reaching the highs that they had in the past, and to the point where I was starting to like not look forward to them anymore. Like it felt like, okay, I guess I'll go check out this one. And with Brave New World recently, I know you and I were pretty positive on it. I didn't think it was anything special, but I was like, yeah, this is the thing they do. And I had a fun time while I was watching it, but it's not, I can't say it's anything special, but it's the thing you're expecting, but there's some fun to be had.
See, I feel like Kevin Feige got the memo after your reaction to Brave New World. Kevin Feige got the memo, and he's like, "There's a boy out there who's losing faith in the MCU."
Yes, exactly. And so then that's why I think I feel the way that I do about this one, because we know, talking about it on the show, when I was watching the trailers, I was like, all right. Like, I know you're trying to posit this as something different, but I'm sensing the same sort of ingredients here, just repackaged pretty well in the trailer. And I don't, and no, this feels like a different thing enough. I mean, it still feels like a Marvel movie, don't get me wrong, but it's, I thought it was a very well done one that tried some different things. I mean, structurally, it tried some different things, which I thought was kind of smart to avoid certain tropes and, putting a team together tropes. The characters are all strong. And I think the best compliment I can give this movie is some of the things when I don't respond to a Marvel movie, the main thing I could probably point to is, well, what were the stakes?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
right.
No one can get hurt. It's like this bad guy that I don't even remember. Like, if you asked me a random sort of movie, from like 3 or 4 years ago, like Ant-Man, 2 or something, I'd be like, I don't know. I don't remember who the bad guy was. But this had solid stakes. It had physical stakes for our characters, because not all of them are exactly superpowered. And it had really potent emotional stakes. Most importantly, I would say.
I would say, yeah.
I like missed it up at the end, which I did not expect. So yeah, I love it. I'm so glad that Feige heard my doubts out in the wilderness and was just like, I thought this was a Guardians is such a great point of comparison. It's Marvel. It feels like Marvel in the Marvel ways, in the best ways, but like, it's also kind of doing its own thing, and it's not encumbered by having to be, set up this or pay off that for all these other movies. This is like a contained story, and I think it really benefits from that.
So this is directed by Jake Schreier. I should say the Bay Area's very own Jake Schreier.
Oh yeah.
But he did Robot and Frank, which I watched that based on your recommendation.
Yes, that's right.
And he did Beef,
which I've been meaning to watch and I haven't gotten around to.
I haven't seen that one yet, but Robot and Frank I loved.
Yeah.
And I've thought about how Marvel does this, right, where they recruit these sort of indie directors, and then they just get put through the the meat grinder, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And even a talent like Chloe Zhao wasn't really able to escape that.
Right. Yeah.
With Eternals, and I remember when Eternals came out, I think for both of us, that was sort of my point of interest, and for you too, where it's like, what does Chloe Zhao do with this?
Yeah.
And it was sort of like the vortex encompassed her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Jake Schreier found kind of a sweet spot here, where, I mean, it's a Marvel movie and it has its Marveliness, but he did bring something distinctive to it.
I think so. So. Yeah. And sorry.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was specifically thinking of like the third act sequence. The specific scenario that our characters have to overcome. That felt very distinctive to me visually.
Agreed. Yeah, that's what I was sort of alluding to. Is you do have to have your sort of spectacle ending, but what you said, the first thing you said, it's not just blue beam in the sky, a lot of like mayhem, and our characters sort of punching their way through it without any consequences or like we ever feel like they're in danger. Like there's emotional, well, there are, life and death stakes here, but there's also like big emotional stakes happening, and all the craziness around them is related to them personally. And I think that really went a long way for me.
One thing I was appreciative of is, and this is something I've talked about before, is occasionally in these Marvel movies, you're kind of like, where are like all the regular folks?
Yeah.
And certainly I had that feeling with like Avengers Endgame or whatever, where it's like, where's like the humanity. Where's and this, I kind of like that, like a lot of superhero stuff was happening, and in the background you just had kind of New York was just going about its business. And I kind of love that.
Yeah. When they were arguing on the street together, our team, it was kind of funny watching New Yorkers like, what is that about? Is they're just like walking past, like, why are these people in my way on the sidewalk? Where you realize that they're dealing with these huge issues.
Yeah.
Everyone
I really
outside.
like that.
Yeah.
I
would like to, real quick, we credit the director. I'd like to credit the writers too. Eric Pearson, who's worked on a bunch of Marvel things, and Joanna Callow, who I guess is a co-showrunner on The Bear. She's written for BoJack Horseman, Hacks. I was like, okay. I feel like they brought something interesting in with them to this too. So
it's kind of, it's tricky, right? Because obviously I was actually thinking about how, in a way, Joss Whedon, for as much of a mark as he made on the Avengers, he also kind of cursed the MCU a little bit with like, oh, we got to have banter.
Yes.
And right. And that's really like it emanates outward from what Joss Whedon did. And I there's the banter in this, and there were moments where I laughed, but I'm always like, I feel like the voices of the characters should feel authentic to who they are, and the banter should emerge organically, right? And going back to Guardians, that's why I think Guardians worked, right?
Right. Yep.
It's this group of people who've just been tossed together, and then they become a surrogate family, and we're doing a variation of that, the whole movie, right? Yelena is searching for a family. Walker has lost his family, and they find each other, and I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie, honestly, is a small thing, but it's where you've got the four characters who are trying to climb up the thing.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's like funny, but it works. It gives us an insight into the characters. Like you're checking a lot of boxes.
Yeah, and what they're willing to do in that situation.
Yeah,
they all have a plan.
Yep.
And they can't pick a plan, and then who's going to be the person who's like, screw this, and like just do the thing. Yeah, you're right. I gotta say too, yes, the banter I think has become a bit of a
burden,
a trope or something, where it almost when you see it in the trailers, you just sort of and there were a couple moments in the trailer where I was like, I don't know, especially with Red Guardian, I was like, I don't know.
I remember we talked about that.
Yeah, well, and it was mostly less so banter with him, but sort of like, guy has funny accent and just is really goofy, like funny, right? And I was like, I don't know. But watching the movie, I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't really think about that stuff at all. Like, even the moments from the trailer that kind of made me cringe a little bit were cut differently in the film.
Right.
In particular, a moment where they're all like, with binders on their wrists and stuff, and it was cut differently. And the joke came from the cut, which I was like, right? I was like, oh, that's much funnier. That's funny.
How funny. Yeah.
So I like that. Yeah.
David Harbour is just such a like presence, right?
Yeah.
And he can be very overpowering. And so I think the reaction that you and I both had to the trailers is because there's just less footage overall, so he tends to overpower it. And I think they found the right amount of Alexei.
I agree. Actually, I really liked him in the movie, which I wasn't sure I would, but and then Bucky fits into this like perfectly, and he's like the fun bit of familiarity.
Yeah,
but not just that. He gets to do some cool things in here. Like he gets his kind of Terminator moment where I was like, yeah,
right. I was gonna say renegade moment.
It's even.
I was like, right, renegade.
That is so, yes. That's so much better because of the hair, yeah.
Yeah, he's like the OG in this movie, you realize, like, geez,
Yeah. But I mean, just before I forget, like Terminator vibes, just like Nightmare on Elm Street vibes in this.
Yeah.
Like, which is fun. It's different. It's a different flavor, right?
Well, I wanted to mention, Lewis Pullman. This is the first time I've really seen him in something where he gets to really, like, do some stuff.
Yeah. Maverick's the only other thing I can think of.
That's right. Yeah. And first of all, I mean, he is like a dead ringer for his dad.
Oh, dude, totally. Yeah. Oh, I meant to look up his age because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
to see if how old his dad was in Independence Day and how old. That's
Yeah. So what's have you done the math?
I'm looking at it now. He was born in 93.
Wow.
So he's like, was that 32? I'm sure his dad was at least late 30s or something in Independence Day, right?
In Independence Day, he was in his 40s.
Okay. Yeah.
He was 43 in Independence Day.
Okay.
Sorry. Well, goddamn.
Nice. But no, I agree. I hadn't seen anything about this movie. I think, you know how they do those tweets or whatever, like a collection of them. And I thought I saw, like, I didn't even want to read them because I knew I was going to see it so soon. And I just saw something that said, well, it suffers from the typical Marvel villain problem. And I was like, oh okay.
Interesting.
So I went in like with that in my head, and I could not disagree more.
I would agree. Even the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, who is, I mean, she's no Nick Fury, you know, she's more obviously heel-ish, at least, right? But what the movie does very smartly is it gives us this window into her backstory.
Yeah, that was a moment, huh?
Right. And very deliberately putting that in there to contextualize who she is. And I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say this isn't a movie that has a traditional villain. And I think that's what I find interesting about it.
Yeah. I look forward to talking about that more.
Yeah.
But I thought, I liked the villain a lot, actually.
Yeah. I think all the main characters, I liked Wyatt Russell in the show, so I was excited to see more of him. And I find the characterization novel, right? This is the guy who was tasked with replacing Steve Rogers, and he's the guy who shit the bed doing it.
Right.
Who is that guy? You know, that's interesting. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a total thumbs up from me.
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm recommending something to my brother, or some of my friends were asking what I thought when it was over. And I always feel like I have to like caveat a lot of stuff. I'm like, well, I liked it, but you should know this, or if you're kind of tired of Marvel, maybe consider this, or if this, but this one I just wrote, it's good. You'll like it. Go see it.
It's so funny. Yeah. I literally just said that to my wife, and I feel like lowered expectations are going to kind of work in this one's favor.
I know, that's why I feel a little bad about coming in hot, where I'm like, it was great.
Well, but
I mean, that's what the show is. But
earlier today, I taught a class, and then right after class, I went to the screening. So I was like, hey, you know, Thunderbolts is coming out today. Anybody planning to see it? It was a film class. Not a single person raised their hand.
Yeah.
And I'm not terribly surprised by that, because there's been just a general,
malaise.
Like I'll get to, yeah, exactly. Right. I'll get to it when I get to it, with regards to the MCU. And I feel like this one may benefit from the people who do check it out being like, no, it's worth it. And kind of maybe a little bit more organic, which is nice. I think that's a good thing. I'd rather these movies open, not in a way that's embarrassing, but in a way that allows for growth, hopefully,
Yeah. I do hope this brings back some people that may have gotten tired, of trying to keep up with everything. Frankly, there's just so much to watch, and maybe they were starting to feel lost, and maybe it was starting to feel a little similar. And so it was like, well, am I missing anything?
Yeah.
But I think if people are a fan of Marvel, I mean, this is a strong entry.
I would agree, and I think it's positioned to be pretty integral in some of the stuff that's coming up.
Yeah.
But I guess we can talk about that on the other side of the spoiler wall.
Yeah. Well, actually, I would like to say real quick before we get to that, I would like to note there's a lot of darkness in this.
Yeah.
Kids die. Right.
Oh, sure.
There was one moment where I was like, good Lord. Seeing that in a movie, period, let alone a Marvel movie. It shocked me, actually. So just throwing that out there too. I mean, this is, by the end of the day, of course, we leave in a great mood, but this was darker than some of their other movies.
Yeah, I think it found a good middle ground. I mean, this is not Daredevil Born Again, where
Oh,
people's
yeah.
skulls are getting crushed and things like that. But it also wasn't all like, candy corn and and sunshine either.
Right.
I think that for this group of characters, they kind of found the right lane to occupy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Want to talk spoilers?
Let's do it. Spoilers.
So I was sort of fascinated by the fact that Olga Kurylenko got third billing for like one shot of her face.
Yeah. So what I'm going to be honest, I kind of forgot who that was.
So she is another Red Room assassin who the first time we saw her, that's Taskmaster. We saw her in the Black Widow movie.
Okay.
And again, I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, you threw away the character. I don't care that much, but more the billing is what's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, she has one line and she gets shot in the head.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, man, she got a good agent.
Yeah, seriously.
Right. Yeah, so we were talking about the third act, and what I liked was that even though you have this sort of, Bob Reynolds becomes the Sentry, and then his dark side is the Void, and the Void is sort of encompassing New York, but the actual battleground is the world of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found that so much more interesting.
Me too. I mean, because the movie is like, I can relate in a way. I mean, this movie really is about depression.
Yeah, right.
And feeling a void in your life, and they all have it. And they deal with it differently. It's what they're all living in the middle of. And it's like, then to, this person who is supercharged, and the void that he feels becomes something that overtakes New York, and turns him into a supervillain. These people have to fight their own demons and voids to help this person pull out of his.
Yeah.
And that's just like kind of lovely.
It is. If I have a critique, I would have liked to see some resolution within that void for John Walker's story.
That's a good. Yeah, you're right, because we do see a glimpse into his life.
Yeah.
With like the marriage falling apart, and trying to be a dad, and reading articles about himself that he's a failure. But you're right. We don't really spend a moment with him.
Right. And I get it, because as I said before, I mean, it's Yelena's story.
Yeah.
And so it's her journey that we go on, but definitely at least by virtue of the fact that they had already set up his backstory.
Yeah.
I would have liked something about that. Although it's kind of ingenious, right? Because by virtue of Walker having experienced the same thing, he's able to say, no, I saw this happen. Yelena's not dead.
Mm.
And they all take the leap to go into the void.
Yeah.
And I like seeing Wendell Pierce, by the way. Any amount of Wendell Pierce I'm happy with.
Oh, there was who was it? One other guy. It was driving me crazy. Holt, the character's name, played by Chris Bauer.
Yes.
I was like, who is that? It's driving me insane. And he's from The Wire season 2. He's the doc boss.
Yeah. So
I did not. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't put it together, and I immediately, when the credits started rolling, I went right to IMDb. I was like, why do I know that face?
Some Wire fans in the casting office, presumably.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's just I loved. That now I could say it specifically, but it wasn't just like a swarm of aliens and punching this and kicking that and no consequences or whatever. It was like almost like Nolan like, Inception like, right? A journey through someone's mind, and trying to get to the kind person who's now trapped by their depression.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's funny because actually when and then you can see Robert or Bob looking down and seeing his parents fighting and this sadness from his life. And when Yelena hugs him, I was like, oh my gosh. And then when all the characters showed up, I was like, if they all hug him, I'm going to cry. And they did. And I was like, this is so different And so like for me, it was just so emotionally potent. I think that's why I came out so high on it. I felt something I hadn't felt a while in these movies. And I love that it was so human.
No, that scene in particular, where we're sort of just peeking into this family discord in his life, and his father is abusing his mother, and he's a little boy, and he tries to help, and the dad gets even more abusive, and the mom says, "You always make things worse." Imagine being told that by your mom as a kid.
No,
like it just that does damage.
Yeah.
And this whole idea, first of all, the way the character was visualized in his sentry form, I really liked.
The golden.
Yeah.
Oh, that looked good. Yeah, and the hair, that was funny.
Because I was thinking, because I know what the character looks like in the comics, and I was like, are they going to be able to pull that off? And it's almost a verbatim translation of the comic. So I was like, oh, okay, it doesn't look cheesy,
Yeah.
And he's wearing that suit because they've deliberately created him to be like the superhero, so it kind of works in story. But the way it ultimately intersects with Yelena's story, like I said this before, like the final shot of the movie is her smiling, and you realize like we haven't really seen her happy in the whole movie because it's just she's carrying all this angst with her. And like what she wants to come out of the shadows. She wants to be what is Julia Louis-Dreyfus? What does she say to her? Is she outside facing, something like that?
Front facing or something?
Front facing something. And she finally has that, right? I love that where the ending is not, oh yeah, she's going to jail, Val. No, it's like we own you now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You know what's funny, by the way, though? The ending made me laugh because it was the only part that did feel like, okay, we're setting something up, which I was completely fine with. Because I think it stood out in a way because the whole movie hadn't done that. But what was funny to me was, dude, like you guys just had like a catastrophic, traumatizing experience in New York where like people turned into like Hiroshima shadows, right. And whatever. But then it's just like 5 minutes later, all the reporters are like, hey, over here, what a scoop. Like I was like, wow, psychologically, they are very strong. Like to just like,
hey, this is the universe where Thanos blipped half of existence out of reality, and then they just blip back in, and it just like life as normal, continues on.
Yeah.
So this is like a 2 on the Thanos scale,
You know what?
It's just point. A Tuesday.
This is a Tuesday. Yep.
I was actually thinking, I was like, wait, isn't Sam putting together the Avengers? And then I like that's actually what the post-credit scene was about.
Yeah, they actually address it.
Other things that jumped out at you?
Well, I really, coming into this, I don't have much of a relationship with these characters, right? And
sure.
Obviously it's easier to start rooting for underdogs, and so they have that going for them. But I thought what was so interesting about the opening, I don't know why, I don't always think like this, but I was thinking, what is the first act of this movie? And it's like really long.
Right.
But I thought it worked great because, we've seen putting the team together. We've seen the people who don't want to get along having to do the thing. And, then of course they have to become a team, and then that's your movie. But right. I thought this had such a unique structure. It all begins where they're all thrown into this one place together because Valentia wants to take them.
Valentina.
Actually, in my brain, I was like, Brian, which is it? I don't remember. Valentina, she wants to take them out. So, of course, that's going to sort of bond them. But it doesn't just become this like 6-minute sequence and then, all right, guys, now let's go and, take what's ours back. It becomes this really long sequence of them in this facility, getting to know each other, having to figure out a way out through that impossibly long tunnel, which I thought was really fun.
Right.
What you were brought up earlier, they can't fly. They don't have these super powers. So they actually have to do one of those like things you do at summer camp where you're back to back with someone and trying to like, like climb up this thing, which I thought was fun and lo-fi for like a superhero film. But like you said, it brought out a lot of their personalities. And but then we have the standoff outside. You know, they're meeting resistance, and they've kind of bonded with Bob, but they don't know what to make of Bob. But they gotta like. I was noticing how long we were spending at the facility, but I thought it did a really good job of covering all the bases you would have to do in the first place, putting a team together, but in a different kind of way. Right?
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. I was wondering if this would feel a little bit like sloppy seconds in terms of all the characters occupying this movie, you know? Because I was thinking about like the Marvels, for example, which I mean tanked spectacularly.
Yeah.
And that was very much comprised of, it's this character from this thing, it's this character from this TV thing, and this, you know, and people just didn't turn up. So I was wondering about that. But I think you and I both were like, well, the movie wasn't bad, you know. I would say that this film, Thunderbolts, was measurably better than many of the recent MCU movies, even the ones that, you know, I think generally I've been more accommodating than you. Certainly with like Brave New World, I know I like that a bit more than you, but I think this is like a letter grade better than Brave New World.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Brave New World is you could see the stitches.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And this one, it feels like there was sort of creative coherence. It you know, even as it exists within this franchise, it feels like it was a production that had its own compass that it followed, and I just appreciated that. You know,
you can feel that, and I definitely think it strengthens it. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's, by the way, the same reason that the Guardians movies have generally stood apart too, right? Because James Gunn had a specific voice, and he was true to that voice. And even as these movies existed within the machine works of the MCU, they had their own identity. And I think this does something similar while being fairly different too.
Totally.
Here, one observation. This is not even so much a critique, but there's a bit in the very beginning when she goes to visit Alexei, and he has like a limo business.
Yes, yeah.
And it's like Red Guardian limo, and it's like, I forget what it says. It's like bringing adventure to your evening or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, bringing adventure to your evening. So again, I'm paraphrasing, but I was like, I don't know that you needed to read that out loud.
Dude, that's so funny. That moment, because I assume it was ADR.
That was my thought.
I will say this, because when I was looking at the limo, I caught the larger letter words.
Okay.
But I wasn't reading all of it.
Yeah.
I was just kind of looking at everything, and her reading it drew my eyes to the little slogan underneath it.
Oh, how funny.
So I'm sure that's why they did it. But that's, it pricked my ears too.
I was like, it would have worked better for me if like you focus in on it and then you cut to her reaction and she kind of like rolls her eyes or something.
Right.
And that conveys it, just because I was thinking about how like, you want to make, like, even if people are just like doing the dishes, they want to be able to pay attention, you know, kind of the Netflix approach.
Right. Yeah. Oh, good point. Yeah.
Anyway, that's not in any way a critique. It's just an observation, like I said.
Yeah, well, there was one for me, and I might have this wrong because, again, I just walked out of it. But once Robert becomes the Void, Valentia is like, where's the kill switch? And her assistant's like, well, we don't have it anymore. She's like, well, make a new one.
Yeah.
And then the assistant uses it later, and I was like, well, that was fast.
Yeah, that's that. I was wondering about that. I was like, what goes into that kill switch, number one?
Me too. I was like, I mean, that's a heck of a thing to shut down this super being, you know, that apparently she just cobbled together in a matter of an hour or something.
I thought the storyline with the assistant, I was trying to figure out, because the assistant calls Bucky and she's like, you got to send everybody, right? And
yeah,
I was like, so was that Valentina's plan?
I wasn't sure along the way.
Was the assistant in on it?
The way that it ends, right, with her even sort of tricking them to come through that doorway to the surprise press conference, I think you could think maybe it was all. Like,
but so that was my question. Like, was the assistant in on it? Was she just kind of pretending to be torn?
You know, maybe we should have had a moment then where Bucky looks at her
right
during the press conference and she just kind of shrugs. And you're
or
like,
something.
oh, yeah, just something so we do know for sure.
Right? Or is it, or see, because here's the thing, because the assistant tells Valentina, she's like, I thought we were doing good here, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it like Valentina realizes she called them, so now she's going to use that to her advantage, like she's got another put another chess piece in play, kind of thing.
That's a good point. It's not super clear.
That's something I'm going to have to catch on rewatch, because I'm going to be taking the kids this weekend. So
yeah, that was a thought I had too when it was over. I was like, oh, I could see myself watching this again.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a nice feeling,
Yeah. Oh, something else I'll call out. But, no, I'm sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead, because I wanted to talk about the post-credit scene.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, the two things then real quick. Music. I thought the music was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was like, these chords are so familiar. And then I realized it's the chords to Where Is My Mind, the Pixie song. And so I thought they were like teeing up that maybe the song would end with that, or the movie would end with that.
Interesting.
And then it never did. And I was like, oh. Like, I wonder if it's just a subconscious thing. But it's very effective because those are great chords.
It ended with the starship.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then
I'll allow it.
Bob. Well, when he's the Void, what a cool design.
Yeah, I was sort of marveling, no pun intended, at the special effects there, because like you can, in the comics, you can imagine it's very easy to draw that.
Yes.
It's just like a black shadow and you have like glowing eyes. That's very easy to draw, but how do you realize that in 3 dimensions,
Exactly. How do you make a 3-dimensional person look like a void, like a shadow? Yeah. And I thought it was very haunting. And the 2 sort of light dots for his eyes is basically all you see. And I really like that. And it was very haunting seeing the people, the way that they disappeared and leaving their shadows.
Creepy.
And
I was like, oh my God, what an awful way to die. And so definitely, like, when it turns out they're not dead.
Yes.
I was like, okay, good. Like,
well, yeah, when they kill that girl, sort of in a surprise, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, once Yelena disappears, I was like, oh, okay, none of them are dead.
Yes, right.
Oh, okay, we're gonna be fine.
Right. But yes, post credit stuff.
Yeah, so we got the mid credit scene with the Wheaties box, which is very funny.
That was funny, yeah.
So these are the new Avengers, which I guess is going to be the new Coke of Avengers.
Well, let's hope not for them.
Yeah, exactly. So the post credit scene first of all, I think this is like the longest post credit scene they've ever done.
The post credit.
Yeah, at the very end of the movie, because it like easily three minutes or so, which I don't think we've had a scene like that,
Yeah, it felt like a scene, like an actual scene.
Yeah. So they're setting up some kind of impending conflict with Sam Wilson and his Avengers, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But the thought I had is, once we have this interdimensional ship at the end, as soon as it says interdimensional ship, I was like, it's gonna be the Fantastic Four. And then we see it's the Fantastic Four ship, and I was like, so at the end of their movie, their world is definitely destroyed then, right?
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit of tipping,
right?
A movie that hasn't come out yet. Yeah.
I was like, so they are definitely, refugees from a destroyed Earth,
Right.
But it definitely sets pieces in place for Avengers Doomsday, which I gotta say, this movie ends and we know like that's coming next year, and I'm like, all right, man, I'm ready. Let's do this.
No, me too. And frankly, if you had asked me several months ago, I would have been like, yeah, no, of course, I'll go and I'm sure I'll enjoy it. Like, I would have had that Brian attitude. But it's been really fun rewatching the Captain America movies with you. That's kind of reminded me how great those were and put them back in my brain. So I think I would have enjoyed Bucky in this movie anyway, but I think because I've just recently rewatched those movies, I was even more like, yeah, Bucky.
Yeah.
He's got like a futuristic shotgun on a motorcycle. He looks so badass. I'm like, go, Bucky.
Looks like the Renegade.
Looks like the Renegade. But, and then after this too, I mean, I think something I talked about on the Captain America Civil War commentary was, it's a bummer that they've had as many missteps as they have had, but at the same time, maybe it's necessary, because if you just keep doing the same thing and getting sort of confident, you're not going to reinvent and you're not going to rethink and you're not going to push yourself in the way that you would if something didn't work. And so I don't know. I mean, this came out pretty strong. I don't know what that's a result of. Maybe, just great filmmaking, or maybe it was also like, hey, this has not been working for us lately. Like, let's rethink this. What's the best possible version of this instead of doing the thing we are used to doing?
Right.
And so my hope then is, for the next Avengers movies, they're not just going to make like another Avengers movies. They've like really thought like, no, we've got to like think hard on this and to continue to reinvent and surprise people and come up with something not just that's you can depend on, but that's actually really special. So that's my hope for that.
I agree. I hope folks turn out. I know that just anecdotally there wasn't a ton of enthusiasm for this, but I hope word of mouth is good, because I think people will enjoy it. If you're looking for something reflective of kind of that phase 2 flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I think this will scratch that itch.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, there we go, Brian.
That was fun. That's actually really fun to walk out of this thing and immediately get on the horn with you.
I know. We should do that more often.
I know. And I have to say, in the post-credit sequence, I was happy to see Bob. I really like Bob.
Yes,
so
I agree.
I was happy to see that he'll be a part of it. And just in case it wasn't enough for me, the very end of the movie says, the new Avengers and Bob will return.
That's right. Well, hey, we'll be back soon with our next commentary track, plus some now that it's May is here, we got plenty of summer releases lined up in a barrel ready to talk about. So,
oh yeah,
we're going to be busy over the next few months. But hey, let us know your thoughts on Thunderbolts asterisk, which now we understand what the asterisk refers to, by the way.
Right.
You can email us at moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit like on our Facebook page, facebook.com/moviefilmpodcast, and message us there. As always, if you like what we're doing, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review, leave a star rating. Every little bit helps. We also have a Patreon page, right?
That's right. If you head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe, only $5 a month, you'll find every commentary we've ever done and every episode moving forward, absolutely ad-free. And we do this because we think this is the best way we can provide what we believe is the most satisfying way to enjoy the show without commercial breaks and constant interruptions. Plus, your subscription goes a long way in helping to support us and helping to sustain producing the show. So if you're interested and able, please head over to patreon.com/moviefilmpodcast and hit subscribe. We'd be very grateful.
There we go. And with that, on behalf of my partner, Brian Hall, my name is Zaki Hassan. This has been Movie Film 316. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zachy and Brian.